Hi, this is Democracy, Disney, and Drinks. We're two sisters that are trying to make sense of the crazy world we're living in right now, and decided that we tried doing a podcast. Why not? President Obama a few weeks ago said something that stuck with us. He said it's up to all of us to fix this. And the most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person who says, no, that's not right. And I've been saying, no, that's not right a lot lately. I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you.
A little more choice words, but
Yeah.
yes.
Throw in a little few curse words.
Yeah.
Or a lot of curse words.
Yes.
But that's what we're gonna try. Again, we're sisters. We do have a third sister, and we're still trying to talk her into maybe joining us at some point. But nonetheless, here we are. We're educated professionals. We're wives, mothers. We both have 3 kids. We have a stake in this country, for our kids or their kids someday. So, it's important right now when things are going crazy and we're seeing things that aren't right. We're trying to use our voices. Yeah. Yeah, speak up. Just a little bit of background. This isn't making it about us, but just to give you a background of kind of where we're coming from, other than being, mothers and sisters. I'm a practicing attorney. I have been for 20 plus years. So I come at this from a little bit of a different perspective than my sister. And we hope to, pull on, my experience in the law to try to talk through some of these things and maybe educate and hopefully laugh a little bit along the way.
And I am a practicing pharmacist. So I come at it from a healthcare perspective, especially with a lot of the things that are going on right now, and trying to see where we go from here and hope that we don't do too much damage along the way, I guess, and kind of look at the studies and information that's coming out and try to prepare ourselves any way we can.
Yeah. And, we're, as a way to get through it, we're obviously talking to one another. We have this group text that, we're constantly shooting things back and forth. And it's sort of, we're just going to kind of go through some of what we text each other or talk about throughout our days or weeks, as far as what's happening. But we're trying to get through it, just supporting each other. Just, we're having more sister weekends, time with family, trying
joining each other for protesting. I mean,
yes,
family time.
We did. I drove up to your place last week, and we went and did a protest together, and it was amazing. I think there were 6,000 or more at our protest. It was a nationwide protest, so there was 100,000 people in Boston and 100,000 people in New York or something. But it was just, I don't know about you. I do know about you because you get a little teary-eyed if I remember right. Just it's a little emotional.
A little emotional when you pull up and you see that many people showing up.
Yeah.
And literally just, that's all. You didn't even need a sign, just showing up to try and demonstrate that they disagree with what's happening. It makes you feel good about.
Yeah, it was a sense of community. I felt like it was, I think what is hard at times is, and it's only been like 2.5 months or something since the new administration, but I felt alone, even though I know I'm not, but it
can feel very isolating, especially, we live in different states, but our states both went red this year. Yeah. And they don't always go red. Mine less so than yours. So it was very surprising, and it makes you feel like you're kind of on an uphill battle against misinformation, and just the things that I guess this administration represents.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about where we are in our democracy and try to, you know, tie it back to what we know as mothers, as wives, as citizens, as women, and as professionals in our respective fields. So hopefully, people, if there's anyone that listens, and hopefully they do. If not, we'll counsel ourselves and we'll have a little fun, maybe once every week. And I also, obviously, democracy, Disney, and drinks. I have a drink, and my blue Hawaiian drink that I think is just pretty, and it's very good. It's blue Hawaiian on the rocks, and it's my favorite thing these days. I don't drink it a lot. That sounds really bad, right? Oh my god, it's my favorite thing these days.
It's fine.
Morning, noon, and night.
Yeah, that's fine. No problems here.
And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about Disney too. We want to lighten it up a bit, and we both love Disney, some more than others. And we'll get into that. I can't compete with you.
So judgy.
I'm not judgy. No.
There's an undertone of judgment.
Maybe I'm jealous.
It's fine.
I'm jealous.
We'll allow that.
But let's jump right in to what there is so much, and we're not going to.
You can't cover it. Like, we're trying to keep it kind of short and sweet, doing a weekly thing. So much has happened in 2.5 months. But I think we just focus on the kind of very current things, because literally stuff just changed today that we were discussing, and you're like, oh, did that happen? Oh yeah, like an hour ago. So it's impossible to keep up on it, but we're going to try and just do a quick little summary, our take on kind of the Fast and Furious things going right now.
Fast and Furious 6 or 10, or what is it that the movie's up
I don't even know. They're on, like, I don't know, 20,
44.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like Survivor 50. At any rate, I think it's important to start a little bit from the beginning, just from the standpoint of, we obviously have 3 branches of government. Everybody knows that. And right now, President Trump is the head of the executive branch. And the executive orders are fast and furious, to use your term, right? It's really hard to keep up. And I think it's important. I'm not sure everyone understands what an executive order is and what it is not. It sounds really important, and it is important, but it's just a directive. The president can't make laws, not supposed to be able to make laws. That's up to the legislative branch, which is our Congress, which has, for the most part, kind of been sitting on its hands, that's my personal opinion. There's been some recent activity, obviously, with Senator Cory Booker, which we'll talk about a little bit, but these are just policy directives, but they've taken, they have a mind, they've like sprouted feet, and it's
Gulf of America.
Yes, like it's just things
yes, that shouldn't be things that we're focusing on in this country, but have been things that they're just throwing out there and are just absolutely ridiculous half the time. And I mean, other times they're very harmful, but there are some just stupid things, like no more paper straws and no more, like,
something with plumbing.
Seriously,
the other day,
I can't.
I don't know, the water pressure. He has a thing about not enough water pressure. I've not ever had a problem with my water pressure, so I'm very confused by that one, but we're just put a pin in that. Maybe we'll come back to that later, because
I haven't even heard that one.
No, oh gosh, yeah. In the midst of the stock market crashing, he went back to the whole water pressure thing, and the toilet's not flushing. I don't know. It was very weird. Maybe we can look into that. Maybe you can have a plumber on our show or something. I don't know. I've never had a problem with water pressure. I digress. Just going to touch on a couple of the executive orders, and, in future episodes, I'm sure there'll be more to talk about. I think one that is, out of the gate, he came out, creating this Department of Government Efficiency, and Elon Musk is heading it up or not heading it up, depending on the day and
who you ask.
who you ask, what court they're in, or
they're on vacation right now.
Yeah. But
fine.
DOGE has it's been super destructive, and it's out of the gate. Like I said, it started targeting federal employees. And, we have family and friends and people we care about and love that are federal employees. I'm guessing everyone does. They have to. I think everyone knows someone who is being affected by that. And it's awful. These employees who are public servants, many of whom have taken jobs in the public sector,
and 30% of whom are roughly 30% that are veterans.
Yes, the veterans
that we're doing this to.
It's awful. It's, they're being harassed.
Yeah, they're being, intimidation efforts to try and get them to,
quit,
resign.
It's like a hostile work environment, and something in the private sector. You and I are both in the private sector. This doesn't happen in the private sector. No. So that is, it's unnerving. A few weeks ago, a bunch of, thousands, maybe 10,000 or more Health and Human Services employees, HHS employees, were fired, and they found out by showing up to work, some of them.
And key cards not working. On April 1st, thinking it was April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Like a joke. And no, it wasn't.
No. And that's not okay.
And these are very important. These are very important federal workers. Yeah.
NIH, National Institute of Health Employees.
Yes.
FDA, they look at our food and make sure it's safe. CDC, which everyone's more familiar with because of the pandemic we lived through. It's just not right, and it's not normal. I think that's one thing that I'd like to stress, and everyone should know that this is not normal. This isn't politics as usual. It's way beyond politics. It's just wrong and right. And this is just really, really wrong. We can cut government spending. I am all for that. And I know it's inefficient at times. All for it. This is not how you do it. These are human lives. They have families. They have loved ones. And it's just wrong. And the people that they're cutting at HHS, they're scientists that are researching the bird flu. I'm only laughing so I don't cry.
Alzheimer's, cancer research. Yeah. Like there's so many people that have dedicated their lives to science, and
and it's real world consequences too, right? Because when you're firing, and not just firing those employees, but also cutting grants, research grants and things like that, where they're having
it will set us back, not just a couple weeks that we're missing them. No. Like it's going to have such a massive
decades, right? Yeah, it's a brain drain.
Yes.
And it's also when it stops those studies, and I don't know how familiar you are with this. I know with pharmaceuticals, but like I'm thinking, the experimental drugs or the experimental,
right. You've heard stories of people that have signed up,
patients that
are in like these drug trials that they're like kind of last resort chances, and they show up and they are being told, oh, well, our funding's cut. We're no longer doing this.
Yeah. And they don't have time.
These are people's lives. And it's just completely irresponsible that our government has taken this stance. Again, I'm for fiscal responsibility, cutting inefficiencies, but you tweak them, or you kind of go like that. You don't axe them. When it comes to scalpel? Things. Yeah. Yes. We use a scalpel in serious situations. Not what they're doing.
So, again, it's not normal. It's not right. And there are real world consequences for this. And so I thought it would slow down. It doesn't seem to be, which is extremely, it's scary.
It's kind of like measles, not slowing down, highly contagious and spreading. And this is another consequence when you put people in charge of agencies and they don't know what they're doing and don't have the appropriate background to be in the position that they are in. And people think that they can listen to them because they were appointed as a cabinet member for, Health and Human Services. And here we are.
Yeah. Well,
we have an anti-vaxxer
RFK,
heading up
RFK
Health
Jr.
and Human Services, and he just appointed another conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, to help head up and solve apparently the mysterious how can we
choosing your words carefully, right?
Yes, I'm trying to, and there's no way. They said they're going to find out what causes autism by September. Okay, there's no way to glorify that. I can't even. It's mind numbing.
Stupid.
The organizations that they have cut from, the NIH specifically. I mean, these are the organizations that have spent a ton of time, like years and millions of dollars studying autism. We have brilliant scientists that do these studies, but yet RFK and his group of, anti-vaxxers or conspiracy theorists, who
many of whom are not doctors.
One of them that has been, found guilty of practicing with medicine without a license on autistic children. They're going to save us all, and find out apparently what's causing this so-called epidemic that they have.
What did Trump? You saw, we were talking about it earlier, and this was in a cabinet meeting that RFK Jr. said this, and then Trump chimed in with, you have the quote.
Yeah, he had said, if you can come up with the answer, or if you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. And I don't know how other people are taking it, but I think most people in the healthcare industry and anybody that knows what damage was done previously by someone with faulty study design that made the initial autism link to vaccines that they claimed that was completely debunked. He lost his medical license. It feels like we're going right back down that. And what that's going to do is cause a lot of damage. It's going to cause even more vaccine hesitancy. And we're going to see
more measles
viruses like measles and, diseases come back that shouldn't be here.
And is it the MMR vaccine that was the target?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's measles, mumps
and rubella. Yeah. Yes. And again,
these are things we shouldn't have.
This has been debunked time after time with very credible studies. There is no evidence that vaccines cause autism. If they want to spend their time looking and think that they have these brilliant people looking at environmental factors, which, yes, it's most likely genetic linked. It could be exposure to toxins or whatever. We don't know. But they're saying that it's just so disproportionately exploded lately that they're trying to find a reason. But the reasoning that we see that is because we're getting better diagnoses for these kids. We're having more exposure. Parents are getting their kids evaluated more. So I think it's maybe a stretch to say that it's just exploding right now. I think it's just something that's been there, and we're just better able to diagnose it now.
All right, moving along to another executive order, has to do with tariffs, and this affects everybody. We've picked a trade war with our allies, some of our closest allies, Canada.
Those dirty Canadians.
Those dirty Canadians.
I I laugh, but seriously, I feel bad and I'm sorry, Canada. Like,
right?
we're embarrassed. We are embarrassed. And I hope you know that.
We picked a fight with France and the UK and Australia. The Prime Minister is talking about that this is the way we treat friends. No, it's not.
Right. And this is going to cause long lasting damage. This isn't just, oh, we may change our course and take the tariffs off or whatever. Like, it's going to linger.
Oh,
These countries are going to remember it.
What about those penguins that you?
Yes, the penguins will remember, and they have already opted out of a live action Happy Feet. It's done.
I know the consequences. There are consequences. Yes. So, with regard to tariffs, they're a tax. It's a tax on consumers, and so we're all going to feel this. Obviously, the stock market. I lost track about since Trump took office. I read last week. It was like at a $10 trillion loss in value, which it's just a number, but it's not when you think about your 401ks and your college 529 plans. I'm not looking at my 401k. Luckily, you and I aren't close to retirement, but I have kids. I have a junior. That 529 plan is taking a hit, and that's what's so. It's real world consequences, these tariffs. And so those are things where, aside from the possible insider trading and everything that's potentially, that's being alleged at least, I guess it's stay tuned on the tariffs. What's going to happen there?
And then they go back and forth on who's going to have tariffs, what percentage. China just got hit again with theirs. I had mentioned to you briefly, when they place the tariffs on India, how huge of an impact that's going to have on pharmaceuticals. And then Trump came out and said specifically wanting to bring back manufacturing. I'm like, you can't just pull up a factory and start, making penicillin. Like, you're not going to do that instantaneously. And it's kind of crazy to me that they think that they can do this, and who's going to pay the price. We are.
I'm sure we'll talk more about that in future episodes. Another hot topic right now, and one that is extremely disheartening, scary, sad, so many emotions, is the president's enactment of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. It's supposed to be something that is enacted and available for, presidential use during times of war. We're not in
because we're clearly at war right now. Although
it feels like it sometimes.
I kind of wait every day to see if something's going to happen.
But he the administration deported more than 260 so-called gang members to this awful El Salvador prison. And they did it without due process. And as a lawyer, this one is really scary to me. And it should be scary to everyone. Citizen,
anybody that understands what due process is.
Yes.
Like,
it is.
I think that's one of the staples.
Yeah.
Of living in the United States.
Yeah. It's the Fifth Amendment of the, I mean, it's very simple when you hear it thrown around there, but I'm not sure if everyone understands like how important that is to a democracy. It's no person, and in the Constitution it says no person. It does not say no citizen. It's no person. So no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And that due process of law is just the chance to be heard, hear the charges against you, and have a chance to defend yourself. And everyone, citizen, non-citizen, has due process rights. Now, as a citizen, you have even more under the 14th Amendment, things like that. But this is basic. And you should, it's from, we give due process to worst of the worst, right? Because that's how our justice system works. Because when you want to make sure that you are not taking someone's life, liberty, or property,
guilty of doing something.
Yes, unless it's justified.
Crazy thought that you shouldn't fear walking down the street without, you know, a car pulling up having 5 maybe marked, maybe unmarked officers jump up and grab you and take you away, and you get on a plane and are gone. That's what we shouldn't have to worry about in this country. But now it's happening. And that should scare every single person in this country. I mean, should scare anyone that's thinking about coming to this country. Like, honestly, this is why people are stopping their plans to come to the United States. This is terrifying.
Yes. Like, there's travel warnings now for our country. Because this is what's happening right now. And yes, if there are gang members, they should be deported, right? I don't think anyone says we shouldn't be deporting gang members and those, that have committed violent crimes.
Right.
But we don't know that these people, and you had read had watched.
I had written that down because 60 Minutes did a report on it and said 75% of those criminals had no apparent criminal convictions or criminal charges. And then 22% of them had been charged with nonviolent crimes like, shoplifting, trespassing, those types of things. And there were maybe a dozen so that's like what, 5% roughly that
and this
were
actually prison.
Were actually like possibly murderers or things like that. These were the dangerous ones. Maybe 5% of the ones that were taken and sent on a plane to one of the worst prisons in the world.
And you have due process so that you don't make mistakes like that. And, they've copped to the mistake about the Maryland father, although he wasn't actually deported, I read, under the Alien Enemies Act, but he was just deported without due process. This is widespread, but it's so you don't make mistakes like that. And God knows if we're going to get him back. The Supreme Court late last week, issued a very wishy-washy order, and I'm worried that our government is going to twist it, but we'll monitor that. I'm sure we'll talk more about that as that unfolds. But so we talked about what we're trying to do. Just protesting. We're doing that. We're writing letters to senators, to representatives. I don't much care for the responses I get, which are usually just
same. Copy and pasted.
Copy and paste.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think we're gonna end it there in the democracy portion of this episode. If my hope is if people are listening, maybe they learned something that they didn't know before, and maybe they start using their voice. I teach my kids to, if you see something, say something, and that's what we're trying to do. So that's my hope.
Stand up to bullies.
Stand up to bullies, right? We started with the Barack Obama quote, and I think it's appropriate to end on a good quote. And you had this on your sign at the protest, which I loved. Go ahead. Do you want me to? You remember?
It was from a lovely Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
She was at I'm not sure what event she was at, but she had a speaking some event, and she had kind of talked about, she said, fear has a way of being contagious. And then she went on to say, but courage is also contagious. Yeah. And it's very appropriate. And I hope that more people get the courage to stand up against things that are wrong. Most people, if you sit down and have a conversation and just say, hey, do you think that this should be happening? I want to think that we have more in common with each other than we have differences. And I think we get stuck on the right versus left. But if people sit down and really listen to the issues at hand, I want to hope that people can see that we've kind of gone down
the it's right versus wrong. It's
and we're going down the wrong path.
Yeah. So just turning to Disney, because that's how we end on a good note. We both love Disney, as I said earlier. Some more than others. You definitely win all the medals: gold, silver, bronze.
It's not a competition at all.
Yeah. As sisters, we don't compete.
No.
I'm pretty sure we weren't allowed to have board games growing up, because one of us, I'm going to actually take the blame here, had a tendency of throwing board games when I lost. I'm pretty sure I did that on multiple occasions.
I remember also possibly doing that on occasion. I think I've done it on Scrabble a couple times, but it's fine.
Too. So not a competition at all, but if it were a competition, you would win.
And you get a nice little participation ribbon.
I love me some Disney, but I can't compete with someone that goes how many times a year? More?
It is
3?
It's the only thing we do. Okay.
I know.
We have a timeshare with Disney. And so we get annual passes. So you pay for it all up front. So you feel like you have an investment, and it's saving you money in the long run from going to other places. But with the ages of my children, it's a very appropriate place to take them these days. So,
and I took my son when he was 2 for the first time, and I'm sure you've heard it too. Oh, they won't remember, but he may not remember that trip. He remembers those after it.
You waited until 2?
I know. I can't compete with you.
I went on maternity leave. Okay.
She's a special kind of crazy.
I figured if I was going to be away from work, I might as well take vacation and have some Dole Whips at the Polynesian while I was recovering.
Speaking of the Polynesian,
I have no regrets.
Yes. That's your favorite resort, right? The Polynesian.
Probably. I don't like to play favorites. It's kind of like children, but it has a special place.
Disney resorts are like your children.
I don't like to play favorites. Okay. They all have unique, wonderful things about them. That's why I resort or hop a lot, or we do split stays. So
they do have Dole Whips, and that is fantastic. And they have some good restaurants.
Pools, beach, monorail. I mean, it's kind of got it all.
It's lovely. I do love the Polynesian. My favorite's the Riviera, which you and I talked about. It's, I think, the newest resort, and it's just, I describe it as just lovely. It's just lovely. And I know I've heard that. Just lovely. It's excellent. That's excellent.
Yes, so excellent.
Our grandmother always says it's excellent. It drives our mother crazy. It's excellent. I know. But I'm telling you, they have the Skyliner that connects the resorts, the Riviera and others, to Hollywood Studios. And we walk out, and my kids are older, so I have 2 teenagers. We walk out that door of our room, and we are in Hollywood Studios in like 7 minutes, and it's great. It's great. So, and it's at the back end of Epcot too, so we can sneak over and eat some good food in Epcot. But which is, speaking of food, just a couple recommendations. The Via Napoli is in Epcot. It's a pizza place. You and I both love it.
Quattro formaggio pizza all day.
Yeah. I like the margarita pizza, but
even just the good old pepperoni mushroom. They do wood fire pizzas oven. It's just
very authentic. I mean, they have
arancinis,
the
the appetizers.
arancini.
It's just
Yes.
amazing. Everything's
Well,
great.
your husband likes, what did they have, the limoncello like he got?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They got him started on that. So now he gets it from, or we just always have it at our house now.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
no, it's very authentic. The food and the servers, if you don't know, in Epcot when you go to each of the countries, right? I mean, they bring in people
Disney
like
believes in
Italians.
diversity.
Yeah, which we will
So,
have a
but
whole
they
talk
try to
about
keep
that. Yeah.
yeah, they try to keep everything very authentic. So in each of the countries around Canada, around Epcot, you're going to have cast members from those respective countries, which is nice.
Well, and my husband and I went to Europe for the first time a few years ago, and we went to Italy, and we were in Epcot at the restaurant prior to our vacation, and the server was from Rome, and we struck up a conversation, and she was just the most pleasant person. When we told her we were going to Italy, she was, so excited for us and was telling us about herself. And before we left, then she had written down places that we should try and go eat. And I'll tell you, one of those is the best food I've ever had in my entire life. La Carbonara is this restaurant, hole in the wall in Italy. She told us to go there, and it was fantastic. So love me some Via Napoli. But you have another restaurant that you like that I've never actually eaten at. Boma.
Oh, yeah. You say that, and again, I
so many
Disney like my children. I can't all the favorites. Yeah, no. If you're looking for a good, I mean, Disney has some great character buffets and stuff, but this is a non-character buffet, and it is at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, over on not Kidani, but Jumbo House, which is kind of it has the regular hotel and the timeshare rooms as well, but they have in the base or in the bottom floor, it's called Boma, and their breakfast buffet. They have a dinner buffet and lunch or whatever, but the breakfast buffet is unbelievable. The food is just phenomenal. My husband has to request it every time, and actually my kids do too. And that's saying something, since they know they don't get to see any characters or anything extra. It's just for food. So when kids request food, there's something good there.
Yeah. Character meals. I don't actually miss character meals with my kids being older, because you never get to eat. The kids had a blast, but as a parent, at least
it's kind of chaotic.
It was so chaotic.
But instead of waiting in long lines when they really are in that phase for meeting characters, it is kind of like
you get a little alone time.
Yeah. Right now we're in that phase where the characters, they are real. They are real, and they want to see them.
That's the other reason to take young children to Disney. I've talked about that a lot with people who know that I love Disney, and I'm always talking about Disney when we're talking about vacations. I'm going on a Disney cruise in a few months, but that's the one thing, like, there is this very short window where your kids, they may not remember it. They may, depending upon where they are in that little space and time, where they think that's Mickey Mouse, or they think that is Snow White.
And that's that is the castle. Like, a princess might live there. And
that's why,
again, yeah, they may not remember it, but you will. You're going to remember those interactions. I have pictures of my kids the first time they met a character, and like just their faces, like
pure joy.
I won't forget those moments.
Well, that was, I asked you about your favorite Disney memory. It's funny how this kind of went this direction, because my favorite Disney memory, I've told you about this before. I think I was pregnant, which I said I'd never go to Disney pregnant, but I went to Disney pregnant. We had this pregnant with my third, and my daughter, who was 3 at the time. Frozen had just come out, and the Frozen, Anna and Elsa were there for the first time. I think the weekend we were there.
Was it for the first time in forever?
Yes. And
See what I did there?
I know, right? Actually, my daughter on the teacups that same day was like, best day ever, which is also from Frozen. She loved Frozen. I waited with her for 3.5 hours to see Anna and Elsa. I was trying to bribe her, like, you want a princess dress? You want, like, I was throwing everything. And she just kept looking at me and said, Mommy, I want to see Anna and Elsa. And how do you say no to that? And I'll tell you, we got up there after 3.5 hours, and my husband had left the line with our son. He came back. My son didn't want to see Anna and Elsa. He was like 6 at the time, and 2. He's a boy. But they came back and saw the moment where my daughter saw Anna and Elsa for the first time. I started to cry, and there were cast members that stopped and we were beside themselves because she was so excited, like screaming, Anna and Elsa, Mommy. And oh my God. And I only got part of it on video, but I got it all up here because I was in that moment. And I walked out of there with my husband and I said, I would have waited 6 hours for that. Yeah. Because it was special. And I'm not sure, she doesn't remember that, but I remember it and I'll remember it forever. And I think we'll end it there. So hopefully we'll continue to do this and hopefully people watch or listen. And if not, we'll keep talking nonetheless. So